Welcome to the Hoof Fang podcast. I'm Kirt Graves.
And I'm Maz Maddox.
So it's the final week.
It's the final week.
In-person episode of the Hoof Fang podcast.
Yeah.
Here we are. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling? How are the nerves? How's the anticipation?
It's, man, all of it at like 100 at this point. Like, so yesterday was the big like pack day. So which honestly, I should have been like, this is amazing because look at all the work they're doing that I don't have to do. I hated it the entire time because it was just a lot of people I don't know. They were all very professional, but just strangers touching all of my stuff and like packing everything and just being there all day. They were there from 9 to like 5. So it was just so much. And like, I kept feeling like I needed to help or do something. Like I almost felt like an asshole for just standing there, even though literally that's what they told me to do.
Right.
You know,
for insurance reasons, they need you not to get involved.
Exactly. They're like, don't touch anything. Literally just stay out of the way, but don't go too far in case we have questions. So it was just me and Alex like hanging out in the car. I got to the point where I kept having to leave because I just kept getting stressed out about it. Plus I could hear my cat screaming and stuff. So it was just a lot. But I mean, they packed everything in the apartment. Like it's gone. And literally like I had some onions on the counter. They packed it.
Onions?
Yes.
Oh no.
I didn't realize they did that until like the kitchen was cleaned out and I like was passing through to double check and I saw like the little onion wrappers like hanging out on the counter and I was like, okay. Like,
oh no.
When they said we take everything, I was like, yeah, just
I hope they put it in like a plastic bag. Otherwise there's going to be a box that smells like onions once you get to Arkansas.
Yeah. So I don't know. But they packed everything that wasn't like in the fridge, basically. Like all the perishable stuff, except the onions, they took, but like oatmeal, every canned goods, all that was gone. But yeah, the onions cracked me up. But it's just like, y'all are thorough as fuck. Good job. So that's done. But now me and Alex are in a dusty, empty apartment. And I didn't want to keep any of our cleaning like I kept all like the spray stuff, like easy to transport, but like I had to go buy a broom. I'm borrowing a vacuum from somebody. Somebody else is letting me use a mop because I was like, I don't want to go buy all this stuff. And then,
you know what I mean?
So it's like, it's kind of grimy in there right now. And just air mattresses are terrible. And yeah, it's just like being a teenager and being in your first apartment all over again.
Right.
But I'm spoiled by having a couch. Now I don't anymore.
Just for a little while. And all of this is contributing to how much you're going to be excited to get into your new place. Right. Because you will have existed in squalor for a whole week.
I'll have been coming from this empty, dusty room, basically. So yeah, but I think I'm on the other side of like the weird anxious nerves because I've been making sure everything was lining up and the move and the insurance and blah, blah, blah. But now I'm like, okay, we get to do a road trip soon. That's kind of fun. Yeah. I get to like feng shui new layouts for all of our stuff. I have my own office soon, so I get to decorate it however I want and just like lean into just queer joy all over the place.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about that part.
It's going to be tacky as fuck.
It's going to be, you're going to hate
all the things I wouldn't let you do here.
Exactly.
You're just going to go ham.
Yeah, it's going to look like a pastel explosion in there, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, well.
Yeah. I'm going to try to reel it back, but I kind of went.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
I want the wall behind me, like when we do our podcast, just be obnoxious as hell. Like but well lit.
Right, thank you.
Nice. Yeah. I will make sure to get good lighting and it'll look really nice. But yeah, I kind of want it to just be ridiculous behind me. So it'll be fun.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's good. It's tiring. I'm pretty exhausted today, but you know, it's not too bad.
You'll get the hang of those air mattresses.
Yeah.
After a day of being super tired, like I always feel like whenever I go on vacation, the first night is never good sleep because it's just not what I'm used to.
Right.
But then the next night, because I'm so tired from the night before, sleep great. Dude, and then it's like, I'm in this now.
Yeah, right. Well, like since, me and Alex are used to having like a king size bed, he sprawls and he like basically kicked me out of the bed last night. So I went and got my own air mattress.
I was going to say,
I went and got another
single?
Yeah, it was just one
bed?
queen size mattress because I really thought we could make it work. And I was like, fuck that. That was dumb. That was my bad. I fixed it. I'm picking it up on the way home. And I texted him. I wasn't even like, hey, I'm considering. I was like, I bought another air mattress.
Yeah.
Like you have no say in this because I can't sleep next to you on this thing.
Well, and you're still like TBD on when your stuff gets to your new place, right?
So the guy who packed it was like, when are you going to get there? And I was like, these are our plans. He was like, so the 25th is what we should aim for. And I was like, if you could make the 25th happen, that'd be perfect because I can guarantee we're going to be there. And he's like, okay, it'll be the 25th. So he sounded pretty confident because I think he's driving the truck. But they still gave me a window between the 20th and the 27th. But I think Michael knows what's up.
You're going to need your air mattresses down there too. Mm-hmm. So better to just go for comfort now. Mm-hmm. Just have exactly. Separate air mattresses. Mm-hmm. Way to go.
Yeah, we'll make it work. That's
what I would do.
Yeah.
If it were John and I would have been like, no, we're just going to have two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't need to. Yeah. We don't need to try to make this work on an air mattress.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we don't need to torture ourselves.
Yeah.
So that is the plan. But
well, cool. Mm-hmm. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's nerve-wracking, but exciting.
Yeah. What am I doing, you ask?
Yes. That was going to be my question.
I'm working on your book.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
So it's sort of strange that this is coinciding with your abandoning me forever. Is finishing up this trilogy, wrapping up the Wild Contracts trilogy.
Yeah,
so
we're
having a good time.
Good.
Yeah, I'm still feeling a little bit of the strep throat.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just lingering longer than I wish it would. Mm-hmm. But that has just meant like things are going slower. Not that anything is.
Yeah.
That's
good.
I do a little bit less than I would like to in a day, but
at least it's not like grinding it to a halt, but still it's frustrating.
Yeah. So, but that's really all I got going on. Well, that's not true because I am also doing interviews for Queers and Quills and editing those episodes. And we have narrator roundtable episodes coming up.
You're very
I've been so podcasty lately.
Yeah.
And then we also have a friend coming to visit this weekend. So we got to get the house ready for that. So,
of course.
But just, normal life stuff. Yeah. And then it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So like, do I have to shovel in the morning? Maybe.
That's annoying.
It's Wisconsin.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 'tis the season.
It is what it is. Mm-hmm. So that's actually a really great segue to our topic for today. So I'm going to quickly throw out that we do still have a Patreon. We are still doing Animorphs reaction videos and that the early shift is on hiatus until you figure out your shit in your new place.
Exactly.
But other than that, Wisconsin. You spent a few years here. Yeah. You got to know it. Yeah. You got to love parts of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if we align on any of the things we love about Wisconsin.
I bet you there's some things that there are crossovers, but I think you definitely have been here longer, so you are more refined in the things that you like. I'm kind of a goblin about a lot of things. So.
We shall see. Yeah. We shall see. So as we reflect on your time here in Wisconsin, I am curious about some of your favorite things.
Okay.
So what are some of your favorite places in Wisconsin?
Okay. So favorite places, I think Gold Star is going to be Sturgeon Bay, like Door County, just all of it is so nice. I don't think even in the dead of winter, you can still go and have a good time. Like most of the stuff is closed. Ideally, you go in like early May. No, actually, maybe mid-May, whenever the cherry blossoms are really popping off. Yeah. We did that, I think, last year or the year before for the first time. Man, that was amazing.
Early summer.
Yeah, early summer is just gorgeous. Yeah. And then going there in the fall is like
also great.
It's just so pretty. I really will very much miss how beautiful the trees are out here because I just don't think you get that anywhere else. Especially if you travel south, the trees just die. You know what I mean? But yeah, like we wouldn't even have a destination in mind. We would just take the route to Door County so we can just see all the pretty trees. Yeah. And we would just make a day of doing that. And it was I still love it. I think if next time we have some vacation to burn, we might just come back up here for vacation just so we can enjoy Door County.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, and you have the inn now too, because that is really the secret is if you live in Wisconsin, go to Door County before Memorial Day or after Labor Day. Yeah. Because you get those great like late spring, early summer experiences. Yeah. And then you get the fall colors. Yeah. But during the summer, it is a mad house up
It's
there.
nuts.
It's so effing busy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
It's so touristy. It's just you'll have access to all of the attractions.
Yeah. Which is
all
cool.
of the businesses, all of the stores, all of the restaurants. Yeah. But
it's nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah. I think we did one summer festival thing out there and somehow we found parking so we actually could like walk around. But that was just doing that was nuts, right? But yeah, it was so packed. But they have like little beer stations everywhere, so you just walk around drinking beer and just enjoying the beauty.
Willkommen to Wisconsin.
It's so great.
Yeah. Little beer stands all over the place.
Yeah. Just and I mean, I'm sure there's, a whole section of food we can talk about. So we'll get to the beer. But yeah, it's just, I think Door County was my gold star. Love it to death. Yeah.
Nice. Any other places that will stand out for you?
I mean, Paper Crane bookstore. Love. I'm hoping they get to stick around. We got to talk to Kyle and Rebecca, and apparently business has taken quite the sharp decline since the election and stuff. So they're kind of shrugging along. So if you are in the area, please go shop there.
Yeah. Paper Crane and Two Rivers.
Yes. Love that place. Let's see. Where else did we go? You
really liked the house on the hill.
I did. Or the house on the rock. Yeah. That was like walking through a fever dream, but in the best kind of way. Like I challenge somebody to go and not feel weirdly creatively inspired afterwards. It kind of feels like a nightmare in some places because there's a lot of weird dolls but it's not supposed to be creepy. Like the thing is not set up to be scary.
It's not supposed to be creepy.
But it still lands that way.
It manages to achieve creepy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's definitely some places where I was like, whoa, you kind of fast walk through it, but it's so cool. It's so unique. And we went during the off season, so it was cold, which means it was busy, but not unbearable. And we got to stay at that cool little steampunk Airbnb.
Oh, that's right.
Which I highly recommend. I don't remember what it's called now. I think it was just called the Steampunk House or something. Okay. But man, that was a secret treasure. Like the food was really good. The host was great. He made great old fashions. And we enjoyed hanging out there in between visiting our attraction and the cool little bar that we found out there. So yeah, that whole town is just freaking cool. So worth going.
Nice.
But yeah, that was amazing.
I would say during the summer too, like the beaches of Wisconsin, our side of Lake Michigan has sand beaches and it is great. Did you experience any of the beaches?
So I'm not a beach person, so I didn't do any of the beachy things, but I don't know, maybe in the future, if we're out here visiting again during the summer, we can do some of the stuff we missed. Like I didn't really get to go pal around Madison at all. We went once when we first got here, but then after that it's been Milwaukee and Chicago. Like we didn't really get to redo Madison. So
we also have some excellent state parks.
Yeah.
That if folks are coming here, actually you can do both because some of our state parks are along the beach.
Hey, perfect.
Or on the lakeshore. So that's a great chance to go check out the parks as well as the sandy beaches that really truly make you feel like you are on an ocean front. As long as the weather's nice.
Yeah.
There are many times of year when it shall not remind you of going to a beautiful Caribbean locale. But at times during the summer when it's 95 degrees out and the water's blue and gorgeous, like
that sounds
don't
really
sleep on Wisconsin beaches.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I will brave putting on a bathing suit in public.
Oh God, I don't you don't have to do that. You can just
go in the water?
Walk along the shore. Fair. Well, I mean like feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Shorts is enough. I'm not going swimming in the lake. What am I, 4?
See, I don't like swimming in any bodies. Like if I can see through the water, I'm totally down. But if it's at all muddy or like, a normal body of water that is in the United States, I do not want to be in it.
Okay.
So
just
step on shit, man.
You don't have to go all the way in, but you can.
I'll walk on sand.
We have lovely, they're not waves, but like the tide will come in.
Yeah. I dig it.
It's not big enough to be wavy really.
Yeah.
A little bit, I guess. But,
sure. I guess if you got some like weather that allows for it, but
yeah.
That sounds nice.
It is. So, all right. Those are some places in Wisconsin that you either will miss or should miss, but you didn't get there.
I didn't get there. Yeah.
What about the food?
So the food, I will say, going back to the beers up here are really good. And I was kind of snobby about it when we first got up here because Texas has a lot of iconic Texas beers and microbreweries that I was used to. But yeah, no, fuck that. Wisconsin beer is superior, is good. I've made my claim. Pastries and cheese out here, next level.
Cheese, you say?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can't, I thought I had an understanding of cheese. I like cheese. It's fine. But you come up here and it's, the whole stereotype is real.
Right.
There, you've got good quality cheeses everywhere all the time. And it's kind of awesome. Right. So that's going to be one of those things that I'm going to be like, you just have this cheese. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll be that jerk.
I guess I've never lived somewhere else long enough to notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That cheese selection is prime.
Yeah. It's just, you've just got a lot of options, especially if you go to somewhere like a cheese specialty store, you can kind of go ham there and it's really fun. So yeah, I would.
Do those not exist other places? Cheese specialty stores?
I've never seen one outside of Wisconsin, but to be fair, I guess maybe I wasn't looking for them. Okay. So maybe they do exist and I just blew right past them.
Do liquor stores in other states not have cheese sections where you can also pick up your charcuterie board goodies?
Man, I don't remember seeing any in Texas.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many dry counties out there that most of the time I had to go next door to even buy alcohol. So
weird.
Yeah, it sucked. And they're all closed on Sunday. Like they're never in grocery stores. That was one of the cooler things of coming out here. The liquor stores never closed. I'm sounding like an alcoholic, but you also can just go to the store.
You're sounding like a Wisconsinite.
Yeah, exactly. But you could just go to the store and grab whatever with your groceries. That's not a thing. Not when I left Texas. I mean, unless something's changed within the past 4 years and some change. But yeah, I didn't see any of that.
That's wild. So Texans are like that sober, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they need more alcohol.
They really need to
They need to loosen up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Let them buy it on Sundays.
Yeah, drinking culture in the state of Wisconsin is real.
Yep.
So if you like to drink, you can do that here.
Yeah.
Easily.
A lot of cool bars. Yep.
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 Well, it gets cold and you're kind of stuck inside for a long time. So we got an appreciation for cocktails and stuff while we were here.
Well, good.
So, I mean, Alex's can whip up some pretty good little, homemade whatevers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That'll be a useful skill no matter where you go.
Exactly.
I'm a little bit of a coctologist.
I'm going to get him a shirt that says that. Yeah. And we'd be like, because of cocktails. He's going to be like, I'm never wearing this. But yeah, so.
Make it so the fonts are large and small in certain ways that people just see little cock. I'm a little bit of a coctologist, but the two words stand out.
That's how I'm going to get a divorce. I'm going to give him this laughing and he's going to be like, okay.
Please. Oh, please. He has a sense of humor, or at least he better.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely does. Honestly. Yeah.
So, okay. I'm trying to think if there's any food. I mean, did you ever go to the state fair?
No.
I haven't gone that often, but when you do, the creative things that they manage to deep fry.
Yeah. I know that was the thing in Texas too. Yeah.
And then also the Wisconsin cream puff.
I don't think I've had one.
Is a staple of the state and also a lot of local county fairs.
Nice.
So that would have been another thing for you to try. Bratwurst, Johnsonville brats. Did you have those?
I didn't. I don't know if I did the Johnsonville ones, but we did do for that outdoor market during the holidays. That's the German one that I can't think of. They had brats. Okay. And it was good. I'm not big on brats, but I did have a couple bites and I was like, that was good. Yeah. But I'd probably do something else. So it was good.
Those are really like the staple Wisconsin type foods, except for our chili, which I do not recommend.
No, not good.
Midwest. I don't know if it's a Midwest thing or just a Wisconsin thing, but like watered down tomato soupy chili with just like regular ground beef and not enough spices and spaghetti noodles.
That's right. It was spaghetti noodles. Cause I was like, isn't it just spaghetti at that point? Like
because it's soupy.
Oh yeah. That doesn't sound great.
Don't recommend it. But it is a local delicacy.
Fair enough. Fish fries. I did that. Those are good.
That's not a thing other places?
I mean, they don't make it a Friday thing. Like that was, they do have fried fish.
Okay. Well, because to me, that's a Catholic thing. Yeah. Because, during Lent, Fridays, you don't eat red meat.
Yeah.
Or meat. And I guess fish doesn't count. the rules are weird.
Yeah.
And then it just like extends throughout the whole year. Like Fridays, you can go get a good fish fry. So I thought, again, these are things I thought were universal.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
No, I didn't really see that as a thing until I came up here. So.
Okay. Well, good to know. Yeah. Good to know. All right. We have all 4 seasons in the state of Wisconsin.
Yes, we do.
Tell me about your favorites.
I think top one is autumn. Like when it really starts going into Halloween season and like the leaves are changing and it gets just cold enough to be nice and you need like a hoodie or sweater or something. Just great. Everything's beautiful. There's a ton of cool festivals to go to. Lots of outdoor stuff you can do. And it's not unbearable.
Previous thing about drinking and bratwurst.
Exactly.
Many festivals.
Yeah. It's celebrated to just walk around a little tipsy and just enjoy the nice weather. We did a really cheesy as hell trolley ride a couple years ago. It was like a haunted one, right? As like it was like October 1st. We just like booked it and went. Man, that was a delight. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing was fantastic. Next to that though, the spring right after the very long winter is pretty fantastic because the sun comes out, everything comes back to life immediately. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like it's green right away. And it's so nice. So yeah, those are my favorite. Like waking up after the sleepy winter and enjoying the hell out of the really nice fall.
Well, and you even learned to appreciate like snow. At least aesthetically.
Yes. Yeah, the aesthetic is nice. I got over having to deal with just being okay with sliding a little bit as you drive. And
oh man, you're going to be such an expert though now that you move back south.
Yep.
People are going to be freaking out. Schools and banks are going to be closing and you're going to be like,
I'm going to work.
Let's go for a drive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I know that they don't really have the infrastructure in place to like get the salt on the roads quickly and stuff. So that's why everybody like buckles down, but I'll be all right.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know. Remember when you were first coming here and you were like, where do I buy chains for my tires?
I remember that because you were like, where do you think you're living?
Yeah. I was like, are you going to be off-roading? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Don't you need chains for your tires to drive in winter? And it was like, no, I've never.
That was so funny.
Do I need to get winter tires? I was like, well, are you going to be driving on a frozen lake? Because otherwise, no.
Yeah. Well, like, it's so funny because I was asking all these people who've never lived anywhere but Texas that I was like, what should I do? They're like, oh man, you got to get chains for your tires and a special coating under your car and all this shit. And I was like, oh my God, that's intense. No, incorrect. None of that is true. You don't need any of that shit.
No.
I've never bought winter tires.
I don't know that that's a thing.
It is a thing because every time I go get tires, they're like, well, do you want to get all season, like winter ones? And I was like, no.
Oh.
No.
I mean, I usually get all season ones. Like,
yeah. Yeah,
which I assume means they're safe in winter.
Yeah, I'm like, no, just regular whatever tires. Yeah. I don't need to be for the snow.
Yeah, just not stripped, not bare.
Exactly.
And just,
just make it to where it won't die.
I would just like them to function as good tires. Yeah. That's what we're doing. So,
exactly.
Yeah. That was funny. Well, that's what you're leaving behind.
Yeah.
But you are a Southerner. Mm-hmm. You come from the land.
Yeah.
Down under.
Indeed.
In Wisconsin. In the United States, at least.
Yeah.
You're moving back south. Uh-huh. What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to the food, just because we are going to be sharing a border with Louisiana. Mm-hmm. So that vibe and that food is up there, or I guess, up into Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Because I think when we were down there, we got something Cajun flavored. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, this is real Cajun, like from Louisiana yumminess. So good. I am excited about that. The area that we're moving to is kind of small right now, but it's ballooning out.
Growing out.
So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff for us to do. A lot of cool. I'm just really excited about the food. Like I want to get back into like the real Southern comfort stuff because I haven't had it in a while. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to the summers, even though where we're going is going to be not as terrible as Texas. It's still going to be hot because it's not going to be like up here, where it gets, in the 90s and it sucks, but it's really not that bad. Right. But, down in Arkansas, it's
you're moving
get hot.
Into, like, there's no water there.
Right.
We also have, as hot as it gets here, we have, I mean, here it's Green Bay, Lake Michigan, like it keeps us cooler along the coast in the summer. So.
Right. Yeah. So I'm giving that up, which kind of sucks. So, but, the food, being close to my parents, that's nice.
Yeah.
Probably other things. Those are the top ones. Everything else is kind of like, I'm going back into like the red territories and, that whole situation. But other than that, it'll be fun. It'll be an adjustment. People seem to be pretty cool out there. Like, where I work.
It's nice that you have a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
That unlike when you especially because when you moved here, you had that 3-month contract to work remote for your previous employer.
Yeah.
Which meant you weren't going anywhere and meeting anybody.
Right. Yeah. So it was just you.
It was just me.
Yeah.
And then remote work became normal and you just never, so like,
right.
You just had to like eventually, I guess, go out and meet people.
Right.
And this, at least like you've already met people who live there.
Yeah.
You will walk into your job on day one and recognize people.
Yes. That is nice. And they've been really helpful about like, somebody who I worked with today sent me a whole list of restaurants he likes and like reviewed them and told me why he liked them and stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. It's lovely. People are just really accommodating there. So,
and because you work for a large company, a lot of people have moved there. They know what the experiences of getting there and being new. So hopefully that means they're welcoming and helpful.
Yeah, well, the guy who sent me the list, he's originally from, I think, LA and is moving down there. So that's a huge shift, And then my boss is from South Africa. So he's really plucked and thrown in the middle of the U.S. Yeah. So, it's interesting to watch everybody kind of do their own exploring and takeaways and stuff. And it's been fun. So I get to do it next. Yeah.
Well, exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Starting again. So you are going to be gone for a couple weeks at least. We'll see. Because you have a whole new house to set up. So we're not making Maz set up her studio in a matter of days.
I'm going to try to knock it out because I want to jump back in as soon as I can.
But we do have a guest host coming to fill your shoes next week. Excellent. So folks can look forward to seeing who comes on to be Maz 2.0.
Yes.
For a couple weeks. And then we'll see where you're at.
Yeah.
Again, no pressure.
Okay.
No pressure. You got time. You got time. Because I know you always think, I'm going to knock this out.
Yeah.
Unpacking is a bitch.
It really is. And these people used a lot of material because they had to be very compliant. So like every single
Are they not taking it out of their stuff once they get there? They just drop it off?
Yeah. So they reconstruct anything they took apart. So like our bed they'll put back together for us. But all those boxes we got to open up and unpack.
Oh no.
And that's going to be rough.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they will come back for all the garbage, which is nice.
Okay,
so all of that stuff they do come pick up. But yeah, no, it's on us to unpack all of that. And I tell you right now, we're going to run out of steam fast.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Ooh.
So when I go back to work, that's just Alex's full-time job.
I was going to say, you at least get to be like, bye.
Yeah, I was like, I can help you for like 2 days. And then after that, I got to go to work.
Yeah, bye. So, and then you're going to be tired from work.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it really is. You know what? Yeah, Alex. Have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I'll get him a cool box cutter. He'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh, guys love sharp things.
Absolutely. Nailed it.
All right. So we wish you well.
Thank you.
And keep us posted. I can give little updates on the episodes while you're getting settled. But for your last episode in studio, we had a very exciting guest.
Yes.
Long overdue. Our friend TJ Klune.
Yes.
If you don't know who TJ Klune is, what are you doing listening to this podcast?
Yeah, how did you find us?
Why are you even here? TJ's latest release through Macmillan is The Bones Beneath My Skin, which I got to narrate. And he chatted with us about bones, and the conversation had many interesting turns.
It always with him.
So here's our conversation with TJ Klune. Welcome to the Hoof Fang podcast. Long-time listener, I'm sure.
Yeah.
First-time guest.
A rabid fan.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah.
Legend himself. And yes, Audie Award-winning narrator. Mr. TJ Klune, welcome.
Hello. Thank you both so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here finally. It seems like this should have happened already. before.
Right.
But you're like,
yes.
we're just going to dole out invitations when we feel like it.
We've talked about this on the podcast before. So our audience knows that I want to make sure that I use my connections to one Mr. TJ Klune wisely and don't overuse that. So,
right.
But it was
I get that. A little me goes a long way. It's like, okay, now we need to stop this guy.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Okay, cool. Good.
So we usually start every interview with an author who we don't know as well as you, just by asking them their author origin story. And I've done a whole fucking podcast about you. And I've heard you talk several times. So like, I know that you wrote as a child, that you were encouraged by elementary school or middle school teachers to like get out there and write. And then I know the part where you were working at an insurance company and then like had your first novel published.
Yeah.
But I realized I actually don't know a lot about what happened in between. So what is your author origin story? Like, how did you go from child writer to published author?
Well, when I was in my mid-20s, with the hubris that comes from people in their 20s, I told myself that I was going to write the great American novel. And so I sat down
How's
and
that
I
going?
wrote. I sat down and I wrote a book called Bear, Otter, and the Kid. It was my very first book. And what did I do? I went online and Googled gay publishers and clicked on the first one and submitted to them. And I don't know that we need to mention their name here, but it was somebody, a company that I was with for a number of years. They published like at least 20 of my books. And I was working 60 hours a week. I would get up at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work. I would work 60 hours a week. And then I would come home and I would write until like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I would do that all over again the very next day. And look, that is not by any means a healthy way of doing it. But also, it was something I wanted really bad. It was something that I desperately wanted. So I had the drive to do that. And again, I was in my 20s. When you're in your 20s, you're able to do stuff like that. I remember being like 20, 22 years old and working at a grocery store and then getting off of work at a grocery store, and then going out to raves in the middle of the desert in Arizona, and then spending all night at a rave, and then come home the next morning and without having to go to bed, go to work and work for 8 hours. That's
I miss that energy.
And now
man.
that idea of attempting even remotely something like that is horrific. Like if it's 8 o'clock at night, I'm not going places. I've been in my pajamas for a couple of hours and I won't be going outside. Yeah. But I worked for that insurance company while I was writing. And from 2011 to 2016, I was basically doing 2 full-time jobs. I was writing, I was promoting, I was releasing books, and I was working a salaried position. And, it could not last. There are authors out there, many, as a matter of fact, most authors work full time and write at the same time. And that is a ton of work. So when you see authors who even write big bestsellers and they still work, it's maybe because they want to, or maybe because they have to. Maybe it's a financial thing, but they are working 2 full-time jobs and not only that, but on top of doing the full-time job, which is writing, they are also having to do all the extra stuff like promoting, putting out stuff, doing videos and interviews and stuff like that. And I'm very lucky. I was able to quit that job in 2016, and I knew I wanted to make it go as a writer, and I planned for a little bit. So I saved up some money, enough to cover that first year in case I crashed and burned, which was absolutely plausible. But I want to be very clear on something. Most people know me these days because of The House in the Cerulean Sea and Somewhere Beyond the Sea and Under the Whispering Door, In the Lives of Puppets. I wrote those books in the 4 years between 2016 and when House in the Cerulean Sea came out in 2020. I was doing okay. I was making a living. It wasn't, it was enough to keep me happy. It was enough for me to be able to set aside money. So while I have, all the thankfulness and joy in the world for Macmillan and Tor for what they've done, how they've elevated me. But I was doing it as a self-published and indie author for like 4 years, and I was enjoying the hell out of it. I just happened to get, a really cool opportunity with Macmillan and Tor, and I guess I kind of haven't looked back from there. But look, if you want something, if you have a drive and a passion in you, there are a lot of times when you have to make concessions for that. I wasn't maybe the best friend I could have been to my friends at that time because I was so busy with work and the other work. And it felt like I had to give some things up in order to do what I wanted to do. And while I don't think I have regrets, I wish I could have started out in a healthier way, because that led to some bad habits, going forward, like desperately wanting to reach 5,000 words a day writing wise, when that's stupid. That's ridiculous. It doesn't matter how many words or how few words you write. If you're putting new words down on a page, that's enough. That counts. Right. And so it's been a long trip, and I've had to break some pretty bad habits after that. But I like to think that I'm settling down in my middle age.
Good. I love that somewhere out there is a person who was at a rave with TJ Klune in the desert, who is now like reading The Extraordinaries to their kid.
God, yeah.
Oh, I've gotten messages about that. I got messages from my former ecstasy dealer.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, because look, I'm gonna totally date myself here, but I was one of those. If you're from a certain generation, especially the rave culture was very big in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was what was known as a candy kid. I was the one with all the bracelets and everything going up the arms.
That's
I was
amazing.
the one decked out in brightly. I was a twink at a rave. Of course, that's what I was doing. And it's just, those were very interesting times. Hey,
it gave you so much fodder for writing
it
later
did.
in life. You were experiencing life as a future author.
Right. Exactly. While laying in a cuddle puddle while everybody gave massages.
Aw. I mean, that sounds so sweet and innocent.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly.
There's no drugs involved at all.
Do you guys remember the acronym PLUR? Peace, love, unity, and respect. Oh, it was a very big rave thing. Peace, love, unity, and respect.
This might shock you, but I was never a rave person.
What?
I knew people who were, but I was never cool enough to be invited. But I knew of it.
Oh,
there weren't a ton of raves going on in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, where I was growing up.
That might make sense. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, we did a lot of, let's go out to this abandoned farm in the middle of the desert with 300 people and dance at 2:00 in the morning while people were smoking mushrooms out of apple cores.
You know what? That's fair.
Different
cooler
lives.
People than me were probably doing that, even in Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Yeah, like I said, we weren't cool enough to be in those circles.
I was too tired after a full day of speech and debate.
Yeah, well, I had to go home immediately after anime club, so I get it.
So anyways,
we had wildly different childhoods.
So your latest release with Macmillan and Tor is The Bones Beneath My Skin, which is also something that was written in a period long before it was released. How do you feel about that? These books coming out, finding a new audience all these years later.
So that was the case with the Green Creek series first. In the Green Creek series, I started writing that in Wolfsong in 2014, and then it came out in 2016. But that would mean that when the first book came out, or even last year, it would have been 10 years since I started writing that book. And I'd love to think that I've grown as a writer since then. I have tried different things, found some things that worked, found some things that didn't. And I've grown as a writer since then. So it's kind of like this weird little time capsule, like when you were a kid in school and you'd bring something to put in a time capsule and it wouldn't be opened again for like 20 years. It kind of feels like
yes, that is a more universally relatable childhood story.
Yeah. But yeah, it feels like, here are some very cool things that I've done in the past. And, you know, Green Creek, it was obvious that Tor wanted that one. It was a very popular series, and you know, the idea of emotionally devastating a whole new wave of people was very, very interesting to me. But when they asked if I had anything else, you know, I was looking through my back catalog, and titles like Murmuration and Into This River I Drown, and I looked at The Bones Beneath My Skin, and I remembered when that book came out. Originally, it was self-published in 2018. Originally, it was going to go with the first publisher I was with. Then they imploded, and I was forced to take every single book I had written with them back, republish, self-publish over 20 novels, and do The Bones Beneath My Skin. And I was preparing for the finales of the Green Creek series. And that was the point where I was in negotiations with Macmillan and Tor to sign up. So all these things were happening at once, and it felt like The Bones Beneath My Skin got lost in the shuffle of all of that. So when the opportunity arose for them wanting to republish, I said, hey, I have this book called The Bones Beneath My Skin. I don't feel like it got a fair shake when it first came out, and I would love for a chance for you to republish it. And in a way, it made sense, because I wrote The Bones Beneath My Skin, and then I wrote The House in the Cerulean Sea. Artemis in The Bones Beneath My Skin is a precursor to what the kids would be on the island. So it felt like a natural fit. And Tor was like, sure, why not? Let's do it. And, you know, it has been wonderful. It has been a little odd seeing, like, you know, it was amazing. The Bones Beneath My Skin debuted at number 6 on the New York Times bestseller list when it came out. And that was weird. That was very weird, because I'm like, this book that I wrote years ago is come out in the world again, and now it's a bestseller, and that's crazy. I never could have predicted that when I started writing that book. But going forward, Tor wants to publish more of my back catalog, and some of those titles are earlier titles. For example, there's a very good chance that Into This River I Drown, my Lambda Literary Award-winning book, is going to be republished, because it kind of sits in the same universe as Bones and Green Creek. And so it made sense. Yeah. And plus they can put like award-winning book on the cover and stuff like that.
Yeah, but for sure.
That was my fourth. Yeah. That was my 4th novel I wrote.
Wow.
Now I'm on my 30 something. How is that going to feel? Into This River I Drowned was my feeble attempt to come off sounding like telling a Faulkner kind of story. Is that going to translate well in 2026 or 2027, whenever it comes out? I have not looked at that book in years.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Like, have you revisited these stories to know what the answer is?
The only time I revisited the stories for like Bones and Green Creek is when we were doing copy edits to make sure to clean up any mistakes or anything like that. And, you know, those books were a little more recent. Green Creek, Wolf Song, and Raven Song, and Heart Song, and Brother Song are all written similarly in a similar style. So it wasn't going to be like, oh, this is completely brand new and this is what TJ is going to do in the future. It was just, that was how I wanted to write those books. But Into This River I Drown, that came out in 2013. That's 12 years ago. And by the time it may come out again, it'll be maybe 15 years old. I don't know how I'm going to feel when we go back in and do copy edits. I've already told my editor that I know I want to get rid of the sex scene in that book, because it felt so absolutely unnecessary and just completely what I did not want for that story. But at the time, I was with that former publisher, and they were like, you have to have a sex scene in your book.
Right.
And I was like, okay. So I'm
because their focus was romance.
Right, exactly. And while it is technically a romance, that is not the entire focus. And I don't know how I'm going to feel when it comes time to start looking at that book again, because that book might as well have been in a different life than when I wrote it. And now
there's no world where you are like, let's do some more serious rewrites.
Maybe we'll have to see how I feel when we get to it. There may be things, but I do not want to get into like the nitty gritty and start changing details of the story, because
Right.
It is a time capsule of how I felt and how I wrote at the time. And it's going to be made very clear, this was a book TJ Klune published in 2014. And, not to be like, let's give him an out, but to say, this was basically a reissue from a years ago book. We're considering Murmuration. That is going to be wild to be able to see something like that, because that was me getting, that was me going into Twilight Zone Stephen King territory. And that's just a different aspect of my writing. So to be able to see something like that come out, who knows? Yeah. They're talking about my post-apocalyptic duology, Withered and Seer and Crispin Seer. That is that is pitch black. Like if you have House and Cerulean Sea on one end, the Memorial Year duology is basically the exact opposite, filled with horror and darkness and murder and violence and all of this kind of stuff. How are people going to react to that? I don't know. It'll be just one of those things. I think it's important for readers to understand that the 2020s of Cerulean Sea, Under the Whispering Door, In the Lives of Puppets, and then Somewhere is not what I do, but what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, because I'll get bored. And if I get bored, my readers will notice I'm getting bored.
And yet, as we talk about these older titles and your new work, as much as we grow and change as artists and hopefully improve as artists over time, your voice comes through in all of those stories. So unless people are like really have their blinders on genre wise, like I could see why someone who enjoyed House on the Cerulean Sea would pick up Withered and Seer, as long as they're in the right mood for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And be like, yes, this is still a TJ Klune.
Yeah, and original. Look, none of my books are for everyone. Those books won't be for everyone, but they're going to be there for the people who want them. And the fact that, I don't want it to make it sound like I'm complaining, because it's definitely not what I mean. There's this, it feels like a division in me a little bit, where that was what I did in the past, and here's what I'm doing in the future. But these things are going to kind of meet a little bit. And, I'll have to think about how I was in my late 20s or in my 30s. And now that I'm in my 40s, it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing to think that all those stories I wrote in a tiny little apartment in Tucson, Arizona, are now coming out into the world in a different way that they had before.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a trip.
It's great. So I look forward to my third audiobook ever, getting more eyes on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Murmuration is you.
Yeah.
And Crispin Seer and Withered and Seer have never had an audiobook made of them, because the former publisher, whatever.
Whatever.
So maybe that could be a thing that for you too. Hey. I mean, the book I'm working on right now, the one that is consuming me, the one that I've been working on for the past 2 months, this has Kirt written all over it. So I am
awesome.
very,
like
very
literally, you have Kirt written.
Yeah,
you just keep putting Kirt
everywhere.
I'm putting Kirt in the little court. I'm writing taking a Sharpie to my computer screen and writing little hearts around your name. I dot the I in your name with a heart.
Oh,
perfect.
Thank you. You and my kindergarten girlfriend are the two people who have ever done that.
And look how we all turned out.
Yeah, I wonder what she's up to these days.
And does she think of you fondly?
Yeah, I hope so.
Does she remember who I am? See, it's notable for me because it's the only girlfriend I've ever had.
Yeah, right.
She probably had many more boyfriends.
Yeah, she's thus moved on.
Doesn't remember kindergarten.
Yeah, as an adult, she's like, yeah, that Kirt wasn't very good.
Yeah. There were a lot of things I didn't understand back then. I'm glad you brought up the DNA though of Artemis Darth Vader as almost like a precursor to the House in the Cerulean Sea, because there is that element of like, technically this character is the most powerful, the biggest threat that these people have in their lives, and yet you portray them as an innocent.
Mm-hmm. Especially with art specifically, like, okay, imagine if you were plucked from this world and plopped down onto like an alien planet. Wouldn't you have questions about everything? Like if you saw like flora, fauna, animals, whatever, you would, what is that? What is that? What is that? Mm-hmm. What is that? And so I was thinking about that in the ways of this character, but also for the fact that this character appears as a 10-year-old girl. And the child, the curiosity that children have is unmatched, because we lose that when we get older. We get answers to questions that we may not have asked, and that kind of facilitates an aura of cynicism that falls over us as we get older. Children, they don't have that filter, and everything to them is a mystery. Everything is a question that needs to be answered. It's the same reason why, it's the stereotype of a kid asking why. You answer it, then they ask, okay, why? Except with Artemis, it's about, what is this place? Who are these people? What are these things? What makes us tick? She's not only interested in let's say humanity, but in Nate and Alex, she's also interested in everything that's in the world. She's interested in Louis L'Amour paperbacks. She's interested in skipping rocks. She's interested in fields of flowers. She's interested in bacon. She's interested in slightly mocking waitresses that are hitting on Alex, and because she does not like that. She is this beautiful little gremlin who questions everything. That's what it means to be a kid, because as your brain is growing, as you are growing, you are taking in more and more information and retaining it. And it kind of teaches you how to go into the world. A lot of kids don't get to have happiness like that as a kid. I didn't. And so when I'm writing about characters like the kids in the Cerulean Sea or Artemis, I'm wanting to make sure that they are being protected by people who care about them, but also are allowed to be children, even if they're not necessarily children. And I'm trying to be vague here to not give under too many spoilers, but think about it. Like, Chauncey is a child. He's not a human child, but he's a kid. Lucy is a human child, but he's also the Antichrist. It's all these little things that are big to some people. Let's use a real world example. There are entire states who changed laws because one trans kid wants to play sports in their state.
Yeah.
When they could be trying to solve houselessness or food insecurity or any other numerous problems, they are spending time and resources and taxpayer dollars to change laws that prohibit one student from being able to play a sport because they happen to be trans. And I just imagine that must be scary to see. I've never been in that position, so I can't know what that feels like for that person. But to have an entire world, because what it seems like to a kid, to have an entire world come down on you because of who you are, that must be extraordinarily frightening. And so when I'm writing these kid-like characters, I'm wanting to make sure that they genuinely feel like kids. Because, I've fallen into the trap before of making young characters too precocious. When they open their mouths, they sound like little adults. I didn't want that for Artemis, and I didn't want that for the kids on the island, because at the end of the day, they are still kids who should be allowed to have that curiosity that so many of us have had taken away.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't want to jump in.
No, you're fine. You're good. You're good. No, I'm processing all of that. So that's a lot. And I definitely, when you bring up writing kids as adults, that is one of those things that rips me out of a story. And you do it really you write kids really well. Like, do you have
I didn't always. I have to be honest. Like, Bear, Otter, and the kid. The kid in that series is way too smart for his own age. Even as a certifiable genius, which is what he is. There's stuff in that now looking back. I mean, it's a first novel, but there's stuff looking back now that I remember when I had to republish all those books, I had to go through and look through all the files to make sure they were formatted correctly and everything like that. And I remember reading certain lines and Bear Otter the kid going, Jesus Christ, what was I thinking? What is this? What is this? And
is this a 25-year-old talking? Yeah,
I know. I've fallen into that trap before, but with this, I wanted to make a concentrated effort to avoid that, because, like you said, nothing rips me out of a book worse than when there's a kid character and the kid opens their mouth and drops like a 6-syllable word. You're like, huh? That's
exactly.
You sound like a divorced dad. What is this?
Yeah.
Okay, all of this sounds delightful to me.
Well, like if it's an actual kid, because I mean, I'm sure there are kids who have extensive vocabularies and are snarky, but they're kind of like peppered in as little jewels for the most part.
Rather than being their
I
whole
fear you might be
personality.
describing me as a child.
You probably were.
I surely gave off divorced dad energy as a kid. That
You're
sounds
like
about right.
12.
If you're a kid who is obsessed with reading, your vocabulary is going to grow, because if you love reading, that means you love words. And when you find a word you don't know, you want to learn what that word means. And then when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I'm going to use the word defenestration in argument at this point, or just in random conversation. So I get it, Kirt. I get what you're saying with that. But I think there's a line where it stops being a kid and starts being just blah. It starts being too precocious. Yeah, I was that kid too. It's one of the things that made me weird, is that everybody called me weird, is because I talked like I knew what I was talking about.
It's all about just having the authority, man.
Right, exactly. And when you're a socially anxious kid with undiagnosed ADHD who happens to be also queer and happens to move his hands a lot, it makes you a target for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I remember the exact same thing. When you're a kid who reads a lot, your vocabulary is naturally going to be a little bit more expansive than maybe others in your peer group.
Yeah. So you've talked before about how The Bones Beneath My Skin is sort of like your love letter to, like, maybe I'll get the year wrong, but like 80s or 90s action flicks.
Yeah. And look, like I grew up with things like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Fire in the Sky. I grew up being gay because of Fox Mulder in the X-Files.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Fox Mulder
because
made me gay.
That's what did it. And you watched one episode and you're like, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Dana Scully made me question that for a little bit. Like, it's an old joke, but the X-File made so many bisexual people in this world just because, why choose? you know? But also, I was the kid who loved action movies where things explode. I still do to this day. It doesn't matter if it's like, here's an action movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm like, okay, because things are going to blow up, even though it's going to be bad. I don't care. As long as there's a slow motion car chase or a gunfight or a helicopter falling out of the sky, I'm going to have a very good time. But what happens in action movies? Did Bruce Willis in Die Hard get the boy that of his dreams? No, of course not. Has there ever been a queer action movie where the main characters are queer and instead of like a heterosexual back and forth, you have gay banter where they are like flirting with each other? No.
That wasn't straight to DVD.
Exactly. and the production values were a little suspect.
Right.
Right. So I wanted to put queer people into an action kind of thing because, let's face it, we've evolved to run faster than heterosexual people, so we can get away quicker from things.
I just use my cutting wit.
Yeah, there you go.
And stay still.
Very certain. I felt that. I felt that down to the bone. But it's just, it's one of those things. Like when I was a kid, and knowing that I was queer, knowing that I was gay, it brought about, again, being a kid, asking the questions. Why can't gay people be in this kind of thing? Why can't gay people be in this kind of thing? Why can't gay, do you remember the movie with Kevin Kline and Tom Selleck where Kevin Kline played the gay guy? It came out in the late 90s and I can't remember what it was called, but it's a romantic comedy where he falls in love with Tom Selleck. And
is it In and Out?
Yes, In and Out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that as a kid going, holy shit, gay people can be in romantic comedies? Do you remember the 1999 movie Trick?
Yep.
With Nev Campbell's
Speaking
younger
of straight
brother.
to DVDs.
Yeah. Right. One of the
with Coco
movies
Peru.
I rented at Video Update in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
It was a romantic comedy of sorts with Tori Spelling playing a fag hag kind of thing. And it was lovely. It was sweet.
Not kind of thing. I think that was her. I think that's how she was billed in the.
And it was showing gay people in that. Then a few years later, what did we have? Brokeback Mountain, where, oh, look, gay people can suffer. Oh, wow. That's a big surprise.
People can suffer.
They can.
Right.
Yeah.
And, this is also the time of, you have to understand, the 90s is also the time of don't ask, don't tell. We're in the Clinton era. We're post HIV and AIDS. This is the era of Will and Grace being on televisions. It is the era of Kevin Kline being in and out. It is the era of safe white gays. Here are gay people. Look at them. They're just like you. But in the real world, don't ask about it because we can't tell you and we don't want to hear about it and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it felt like, hey, gay people, you can exist, but only so much. Don't get any ideas, you goddamn fruit flies. Don't get any closer, but you can exist. We'll recognize that you exist. And, it's a fascinating time where it felt like the LGBTQ community was in limbo, and all these things were happening in the world, and big old action movies were coming out. Why couldn't Ben Affleck in Armageddon have put the little animal crackers on, say, Steve Buscemi's stomach? I don't know. We could have done that, and it could have been wonderful.
I was watching your reaction. Like,
we could have been Steve Buscemi. Could have been some other actor. Could have been.
See, I'm just saying.
Any other actor?
I love. It's one of those things.
Could have been Bruce Willis.
There you go.
You don't get to see yourself in things, and so you grow up to be someone who puts your community in things.
Thank you for not saying puts yourself in things.
Yeah, I know. I had to stop myself.
Yeah, we all saw the breaks on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I love it when shit blows up, and if queer people could be around to run away from the explosions and survive and then go have gay sex in a barn, okay, that works.
We do walk faster than straight people.
We do, because we evolved, because we have to get away from them, because they're always trying to do that.
It's your escape strategy.
Power walking. There goes Kirt. He just sashayed away.
Yeah. Thanks to TJ Klune for taking the time to chat with us. If you are a member of our Patreon, you can hear more of our conversation with TJ Klune in an exclusive extended interview. Things got a little spicier after we knew this content was going to be behind a paywall.
Yes.
So you guys can go hear more of that chat over on Patreon or in your Patreon podcast feed if you are a Patreon member. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go check us out on social media, website, blah, 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 all those things. Yeah. We wish Maz well. Safe travels.
Thank you.
And I will be back next week with our special guest host.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I'll see you then, but that's a lie. I'll see you eventually.
Yep. Bye.